difficult, but I think it's going to get very different. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a
So Amit is joining us, and Shalini Bhalla, that's our PGT English, and she is right now Lataji and Maheshwari sir. She is the most senior teacher that we have, but unfortunately she is not able to connect. I just got her message that she is having a connectivity issue now. So so that's the team which which is looking after creating this document of creating history of Aisha School Parwano, and that's where it going. When head office decided a month ago that all the three schools should kind of have a document of recording the history of schools. So no better than you people. Such a pleasure to see both of you. लता जी से तो मैं बात करता ही रहा हूँ बीच बीच में. माहेश्वरी सर के बारे में काफी सुना था मैंने, हर तरफ से मैंने सुना, काफी तारीफें सुनी है सर आपकी. आई मीन ऐसे नहीं मैं आपके सामने हूँ, बट आई थिंक आई हर्ड so many good things about him.
नहीं उनके एनर्जी के बगैर तो स्कूल ही नहीं बनता. His energy and his assurance to me कि स्कूल बनेगा. बाकी तो थे ही, but I told him मुझे 5 बच्चे और एक बरगद का पेड़ नहीं दोगे तो मैं नहीं आती. एक दिन तो वो उस हद पर पहुंच गए थे. First they said कि ऐसा करो वैसा करो, ऐसे नहीं, मुझे 5 बच्चे पहले दे दो, उसके बाद बात करेंगे. So I think in the 42nd day of joining Aisha, under this man's mightful energy, the school was functioning. 42nd day, 32 or 34, मुझे exactly याद नहीं, 34 days or something. Oh. He put the whole school together from a heat treatment pit that it was.
You see, 1978, if I recall correctly, 1978, yeah, I think it was Alwar Public School was the first one which started.
Correct.
1978. Of course, I joined Alwar in 1981, so that's why I remember 1978 or somewhere around the Alwar Public School started. Somewhere around, I think it is 1992 or 93. I don't recall the year. When I came to Parwano, I came from Hyderabad to Parwano, and exactly. I was to get my children admitted into Bharati Vidya Bhavan.
Okay.
I look at and I had a very clear mandate from the Mr. Malhotra, late Mr. Malhotra, as well as Vikram Lal, whom I had met, that we have to put up a school in Parwano. And it was necessary. The reason being, Parwano had one Gabriel school. There was no other school in Parwano. Children used to go almost about 10 kilometers. They used to go to Pinjore. HMT में एक सीमेंट फैक्ट्री था वहाँ पे पिंजौर में, उनका एक स्कूल था. बच्चे सब वहाँ जाया करते थे. And there was no other school which was what the name around that place, and some of the children used to go to even Chandigarh for study.
I see. Okay.
So therefore, the mandate to me was that look, you have to go and put up a school. Okay. And as luck would have it, that I for getting my children admitted, I got into Bharati Vidya Bhavan. I found her there, and after I think it was second day. First day we discussed, and I was trying to gauge her. It was back on my mind, and then I started talking to her in terms of that because somewhere or the other, in my own mind, the way in which things were moving in Bharati Vidya Bhavan, the changes which were coming in Bharati Vidya Bhavan, and I said, yeah, this lady has got huge passion, great passion, and is a flavor of the change management. Something which, if you really want to bring about something good in education, and she's the one whose entrepreneurship is also there. She will not be defeated by small, because generally what happens in a private schools are that you don't know when the funds are going to come, how the whole issue is going to be small, is going to be big, because people generally try to shift to a bigger school. Nobody want to shift to a, I mean, there was a very well known school in Chandigarh. It is not that it was a school which was not known, because she has built it up that way. And now you are bringing somebody, you're pushing a lady to come to a school which is not, जिसका साले का जमीन भी पता नहीं, कुछ भी पता नहीं उसके बारे में, मतलब स्कूल के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता, जो बंदा बात कर रहा है उसको भी नहीं पता है करना क्या है स्कूल के अंदर, कैसे लेके आना है स्कूल में. I think so that's where we found her, And I had requested her to please give me, I think she was reluctantly, she gave at that particular point of time. It was almost a week for her, because difficult to take those kind of decisions, because after all, Eicher company, small company in Parmanu, going from Chandigarh to Parwan is itself about 25-30 kilometers a day. I mean, every day going and coming. All those hassles were very much there.
Correct, sir.
And on her, because I was not the authority anyway to select her or to decide. Mr. Malhotra and Mr. Vikram Lal were the people who were to decide. But I wrote on that she has to be called and she must be interviewed. So Vikram then rang me up. He said that generally Ramesh likhta nahi hai is prakar ka, because he knew me, because I have been going around in this place. And then and it is, I'll say it was Parmanu School's luck and my luck. I mean, that she was on board. Now, the problem in the initial issue was that there was a empty area which Eicher Parmanu had, which was Continental Auto Ancillary Limited earlier. So there were two companies earlier in Parmanu. One was of Eicher's Continental Auto Ancillary Limited. This was one company. And the second was Eicher Farm Machinery Limited. These were the two companies which were there. Eicher Farm Machinery Limited, I think, is where he used to make the tractor assembly. And this Continental Auto Ancillary Limited is where we were doing the gear manufacturing.
Okay.
In a plan M, a modernization plan, where rationalization took place, and the company changed to Eicher Tractors.
Okay.
So in the rationalization, the engine was manufactured at one place, because there are all the three plants are making tractors. Even Alwar was making tractors, Parmanu was making tractors, and so was Faridabad. In the rationalization plan, the tractors should be made only at Faridabad. Engines were to be made only at Alwar. And gearbox and gears to be made only at Parmanu.
Okay.
So therefore, this the location where gear plant was there, that is Continental Auto
Ancillary
Limited, that got vacated.
Okay.
This all happened before I came into the scene. It got vacated. It was available as a place, and there the decision was taken that look, and this place was not of Eicher's. It was on a long lease.
Okay.
There was another angle to another problem, which she was aware, and I was aware that they were on long lease. So there was uncertainty with the school. That if we, let us suppose, whether we get land, we don't get land. After getting land, then it has to be construction. Then there is a lease which is there on one side, and we are talking about school to be put up. So the school started functioning only because of this lady, Mrs. Lata Vaidyanathan, because I was an administrator, literally. I mean, administrating in the sense that there's nothing much I could do, a little bit of help here and there, and it was her passion. Again, the fund was also limited in Eicher. No, not much of fund used to be available in Eicher. That was another constraint Eicher was facing through. So I think, if I recall correctly, there were some boxes which we had, plywood boxes, etc. So we used those, and we made cabins out of it, painted it, and I mean, you can say that not the way in which Lata would like to start, for example, anybody. I like to start a school, greenfield school, with a very good building, nice everything, etc. It was not there. And on top of it, how do you get teachers? I mean, besides students, you need to have teachers. And she had decided that she is not going to give the normal education what is being given to children.
Absolutely.
So she is on a, I mean, she was on the same path as what we were, but it was a difficult task. Because then what do? I mean, you are getting teachers which are, we no experience of teaching. I mean, as a person, I didn't know what she wants to do, because I didn't have knowledge about the school per se. But she was very clear कि वो बस्ता नहीं जाना चाहिए, and I think she used her context, phenomenal context, and I think first time in Parmanu there was a galaxy of educationists which came to Parmanu. First time. I mean, I have never seen such a galaxy at that time. in terms of how to make changes in terms of curriculum related training to the teachers, etc., etc. And that's what, I mean, if I recall Lata correctly, I mean, that's how the whole thing started with. So initially, in terms of challenges, I think it was a lot of uncertainty, and I think hats off to her that with so much of uncertainty around you, neither you have money, nor you have proper teachers,
Yes.
nor you have students, nor you have permanent place, and we are all start talking about a vision that we want to have the best of the schools in that place. So that's how I think, and then of course, once she took charge of the whole thing, then things started really moving forward. And I recall, because there was not much of staff available, so there is a teacher's day or things of that kind. She used to do everything herself, and sometimes my wife used to go along with her just to give company. That's all, nothing else. But it was literally like a family affair kind of thing. Professionalism at the core, but entrepreneurship at the top in terms of family. That okay, how do the teachers became a family? Everybody became a togetherness was very much, and everybody had only one vision and mission that we want to make this as one of the best schools in the town in Chandigarh. It was not Parwanu, it was among Chandigarh. It should be the best school, and that's where I think she was working towards it. Hats off to her. I mean, to be very frank with you, I mean, it was absolutely her maiden effort and her passion to do something which is very, very different. And it got into that. Of course, land was another big issue, which because on one side you got
correct.
I mean, land was so that was being tackled by me and the team. In a number of visits to the government people, because as far as they are concerned, they cared damn about it, whether you have land or. And our worry was that look, we have started a school and nothing physically in our hand, and whatever is there physically in our hand is not acceptable to us. In terms of the area, also what they gave initially was small, and we wanted a bigger area. So there was another portion of land which you wanted. So one portion had come, the second portion had not come. So that was, I think, so this is all, I think, if I recall correctly, at that time.
Sorry, please continue, sir.
Yeah, I think this is what I think I remember.
Okay.
So if I take it on from probably where he left, although he summarized it so beautifully, I remember him sitting in my office to start with earlier in my Bhavan days. And just by the way, some information for all of you. Ramesh, I just got a call and a message and a letter and an email, whatever you want to call it, from Bhavan Vidyalaya Chandigarh. India, the education today has ranked it the best school in the country.
Oh, great, Lata. Congratulations.
Day boarding, day school, best school for academic results, and it has topped the charts. So the Mrs. Vinita Kohli, she has written to me saying, ma'am, I look at the foundation which cannot be shaken, and I'm ever indebted to you for making me continue with this legacy. So the Chandigarh school, I think you would be aware, is also doing extremely well.
Extremely well.
But having said that, extremely well. And I was there as, again, like I came to your place on your 25th year, like that I went to, they had invited me as a guest for their 25th year as well. And I feel so grateful to God today, sitting back, and we went on 20th of October to the 100th year celebration of modern school, and feel the pride in my lungs today that, the three schools that I served very diligently and attempted and whatever did, really became something in the country. Now, having said that, when he came for his two boys' admission to me from Hyderabad, and his children were there in Bharati Vidya Bhavan over Hyderabad, and when he came to admit me, I think right about the second or third day, he made this proposal. He asked me, will you please help us set up the school? Our organization also wants to set up. I said, helping I can always do. So then probably he had visits from his team from Delhi, and Mr. Vikram Lal, Mr. I think Subodh Bhargav, Mr. Malhotra, of course, the key person. All of them landed up and had a conversation with him. And then he came the next day. He says, "Nahi, nahi, nahi. Ab khali help se kam nahi chalega. Aapko aana padega." I said, "What?" It was the 10th year of my schooling at Bhavan. And I also remember that his eldest son, who I call Mera Beta, didn't speak to him for a week. कि आप आके हमारी मैम को ले गए.
Right.
If you recall that, almost, and I think it was Alka who told me, his Mrs. Maheshwari who told me that मेरा बेटा तो अब घर पे ठीक से बात ही नहीं करता है, डैड से लड़ाई करता रहता है. So, I mean, those were some of the personal and emotional, and I know of a student whose father was in Engineers India Limited, and he had such an image of mine that my successor who came into the school, who was called Meenakshi Mohindra, also a good friend of mine currently, I mean, even then, and she used to be an English teacher in our English PGT in our school. She later took over from me, and that child was called Deepak as well. I used to call him Deepu in school. His father was in Engineers India Limited. And he's now an engineer and settled in Cochin. So he told his father that when I go to write my first board exam, the principal will come to see me, because it's a tradition for principals to visit the centers. Will only be Lata ma'am, please call her from wherever she is. So halfway I was driving into Parvanu when I got this call saying, please come back. Please go and meet my son. His exam begins at 9:30. Otherwise, he'll be disappointed. I turned the car back. I went right back, met him in his school. His center was Vivek High School. I met him there, and I then went back to the office. I mean, these are some of the emotions that rake up when I think of the Aisha school in Parvanu. But having said all this, yes, we sat down. The vision, the mission, your Shraddha Sanyam Samarpan, which is on your emblem.
Correct, absolutely.
We created the emblem. We wrote out the content. We wrote out the shlokas. We taught the children. We dealt with the vision. We called Anil Sachdev to help us deal with the vision mission statement. We had recruited our first 5 teachers. But before that, what happened was, when I was sitting at the Aisha office and working out these papers every day alone, I used to hardly feel like a school. It was the 10th year. I was among 1,500 children. 1,628 children to be exact in Bhavan. I left behind 110 teachers, a full-fledged school building and fully affiliated school. And I go to this place and I go into his office, which is making tap, 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 all kinds of parts. Everyone busy running around. Hardly I get a feel of the school. And I'm told, now do the school. So fine, we finished all that. And one day they said to me, they had their own conversations and they said, "Theek hai, is saal we will pay attention to getting the land. You know, you need to go to Shimla quite often. We'll have to do all of that. So paperwork, and there's a lot of work. So let's do." I told him, look, even if I go back, they will take me. So I will give me 5. And you know what had happened? The incentive also came from Parvanu. The highest class of the Anand school there, Gabriel's, that school was class 5, and it was a beautiful school building with a lovely lawn and a very good location.
Correct.
But that school was only up to class 5.
Correct.
I went and rakied the place, and I saw the place and came back. And I was told later that the parents, the engineering parents, I mean the top brass of Anand school, they came to my office. The women all came to my Bhavan's office one day. They said, "Ma'am, सुना है कि आप वहाँ स्कूल स्टार्ट कर रहे हो, आप और कुछ करो ना करो, 6th standard जरूर स्टार्ट कर देना, हमारे सब बच्चों को हम तसल्ली से आपके पास भेज देंगे." And that was another very weird thing that happened to that school.
Okay.
We started that school. So then finally, when I gave an ultimatum saying that, look, I have children for class 6, I have children for nursery, I'm starting the school. And I'm starting it on the 50th day of my joining you. And on the 40th day, we were still wondering what is happening. And I walked into Ramesh Maheshwari, who was then very, very busy with his organization. And the speed in which he walks, you can hardly keep pace. He runs, he doesn't walk. Ramesh doesn't walk. So I ran after him. I said, listen, I need the school. So then we caught hold of him, he and Ishan. They both were sitting and talking, caught hold of them. They showed me the place. I said, this place is fine. We go ahead with the school. That is how when I came for the 25th year, the first place I went to was that now a go down or something. On the
Okay.
roadside.
So Lataji, tell me one thing. The auto ancillary space that Maheshwari sir was talking about was the same space?
Exactly. Yeah, that 1 acre shed. Yeah, that 1 acre. But you know what was lovely about it, which no school can have, Deepak, is it starts from the road, it goes down. It was a natural energy place.
Okay.
I would call it Vastu very successful, because it went in and the office was barely the size of one of my bedrooms that I'm sitting in, or what would I say? And that was the only air conditioned place which these people did it up beautifully, full marks to the team, because they had class, they had character, they, whatever money they invested, they made sure it had a finish, they made it comfortable, they made it welcome. You know, I know how there was one toilet and all of us used it so beautifully, the staff. Beautiful toilets were made for children down. So the school went like this, then like this, then like this, then went out and went out and went. And outside, we still had a small garden patch where we had our assemblies. Small little patch, which would be probably quarter of the patch of my modern school personal house. Ultimately, if I look at it from that point of view. So when I look at that whole thing, and we used to have our assemblies, and if you stand there, you could see the timber trail ka upar wala, the upper area.
Absolutely.
And a beautiful rivulet flowing from there, and the sun rising and sun setting. I remember asking one of the youngest children in kindergarten, although I'm digressing a bit, I said, "Aapne kaam nahi karna?" He says, "Nahi, maine aapke ungli pakadna hai." Maine kaha, "Pakad lo. Kahan chalna hai? Bahar chalo." He didn't want to sit in the class. He came out and he said, "मैंने कहा आप देख लिया, आप जाकर drawing बनानी है, आपने उसी लिए मैं लेकर आई हूँ आपको बाहर." He went back to class. If I had the guts to write a book about the school, the cover page design would be that. That child told me he drew a box, and like not a square box, a mismanaged box like thing, and he put a small little sun inside. And I said, "Ye kya hai?" He said, "Ye suraj hai." I said, "Okay." Then I said, "सूरज तो दिख नहीं रहा." कहते बाहर भी तो नहीं दिख रहा था, पहाड़ों के पीछे छिप गया.
क्या बात
क्या बात है सच्ची. I mean, as an educator, you will all understand, as educators, three of us here in the making, and he by default. It touched my heart so much. I said, this is the place we have to make it happen. And Deepak, you won't believe, then started our journey. On the first day of the school, we had, I think, if I'm right, about 23 pre-nursery kids. We had all lined up in 5 days. We knew what we were doing. When the teachers were recruited, Vandana Shukla, Indu क्या है वो?
Mittal थी क्या? No.
नहीं. Indu, she is like my soul. She's actually alter ego of mine. Indu and Kamini, Rajmohini, and there was one more. And there was one more teacher, Manpreet, later, who joined us. But first, and Rekha. Vandana Shukla, Rekha Batra, Indu, Kamini, and Raj, I think. We were 5 who joined. And Rekha used to teach kindergarten and math and science to class 6. So it is not that we had primary teachers, pre-primary teachers, and science, and we never had. Everybody was multitasking. We were all art teachers together. We were all dance teachers together. We were all shloka teachers. There was nothing in that school which a senior school didn't do, with whether there were about 50 children or 100 children. That was the way we started the school. And the 5 of us sat down. We said, here will be a school which will have no textbooks up to primary level. So it was only preschool. Only textbooks for class 6. And look at the pressure on me. It was that we had to make the school happen, make it function at par with whatever I was doing, because I couldn't move down. I had to only move up. I had a role in going up and down with Ishan. We used to leave home at about 6 in the morning, drive down straight to Shimla, Ishan and I would go together and then go and file in our papers for land, which was on lease for us. And we had to first locate the land. Mr. Malhotra was an absolute inspiration. I mean, if he could do it at that age and continue to do it till the last day of his life, we have no reasons to complain. My God, to cut a long story short, the land acquisition on one side, which was primarily the responsibility of Ramesh, but notwithstanding that, I remember the number of times we went. We had to, when finally we got this land to cut this chart, I think Mr. Vikram Lal came once to see the land to approve. And the trust that this organization had in all of us as a team was that on the day when the school got built and inaugurated, Mr. Vikram Lal didn't even come for the function. He said, the school belongs to Mr. Malhotra and all of you. I'm only a what? He used the word. I'm only a factor of background leadership. Something like this, he said. And to get this land, Deepak, we had to interview people and get their signatures, no objections and all. And there were lots of clauses about employment and we went from door to door. I remember Kamini, because she knew the local lingo. The
Pahadi people and the Kamli community.
Kamli village का language उसको समझना था. Finally, इसके बीच में बहुत सारे DCs आए गए. I had the Home Secretary then, who was then used to be my husband's good old friend. And but मेरी भी जिद थी कि मैं अपने husband का नाम नहीं लूंगी. I had to do it. मुझे अपने दम पे करना था. So finally, last में क्या हुआ, when I think Ishan and I, Ramesh, if I remember rightly, both of us were in the office, and this man, the one who had to sign the document, then the normal language I learned of the government, which would say, number one, it would say as per rules. And the second language I learned of the government was the competent authority thinks. Nobody will write their names. The government always says the competent authority.
Correct.
Damn it, who is the competent authority? वो DC है, वो उससे जो नीचे registrar है वो है, या Home Secretary है, Education Secretary है, या Rural and Urban Development वाले हैं. I tell you, इतना knowledge gain किया, that was such a beautiful learning curve for me, that in reflection, I think I learned a lot. Any challenge, any difficulty, any discontinuity only gives you a lot of learning. Exactly like COVID is doing today.
Very true. Very true.
So when we went up, finally, I was ragged by a clerk on the table. Ishan had gone for some other work because और भी काम था इनका, वो उसके लिए वो गया था. मैंने कहा I will wait here, don't worry, whenever he comes I'll get the signature and come. Last stage की बात कर रहे हैं land का. By then we already had 8. 6 standard children went to 7th, and again the 6th came. 6th, 7th, 8th, 3 years. If I therefore look at the situation, in the first year I had pre-nursery, nursery, KG and class 6. In the second year I had class 1 and 7th. In the third year, I had class 3 and 8. By then, we had to get the state government recognition. NOC, 1 acre land in rural Mofzal area was allowed by CBSE, so we needed to get the affiliation, saying that, look, we have acquired the land, construction is due, but 8th mein aa gaye bache, 9th standard registration ke liye I need the approval. So when I got when these people came for, we got, even for the land, we needed to get this recognition, signatures and the certificate. So go to education office, get them for it. And oh my God, when these people came to inspect, they loved it so much that I think if we look at some of the documents, may or may not be there in your possession right now, but such outstanding reports we had got. With those reports, the final stage of land acquisition, when we went, the last stage was after all these people signed, the file had to go via the DC. DC was Solan, which you would know now.
Correct.
So the DC Solan became a friend. Thankfully, we were located on the main road. So he said, one day he stopped the car when he was going, he walked into my office and he said, ma'am, I will help you do your work if you will help me do my work. I said, what is it? you can help me because you know what you have to do. I don't know what I have to do, so how can I help you? So I said, no, ma'am, I want you on the managing. I want a respectful person on the board of the working women's hostel, the girls working women hostel. There is another Anand Ka working women hostel.
Yes, true.
Yeah, and during those days, it had Mr. Malhotra's sister as its warden.
Correct.
So it was beautifully managed.
Correct.
But during the girls working women's hostel, which was beautifully built and amazing looking girls used to stay there and work in all these factories as part-time, right, for very small jobs. But the girls used to come and stay there and work, Deepak. And you would be surprised that when I went, the kind of horror stories I heard of the warden.
Oh.
Not funny, not funny. I don't think I've ever shared this with even Ramesh.
No,
The horror stories was that, you know, there is a government guest house and then there is a private hotel apart from Winsmore.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And later on, Daisy joined us as staff.
Correct. Correct.
And a lot of good teachers from, right now she's a BJP member, I think.
She's become the president of this, some Mahila, this thing, Women's Congress. You know, she has become a little minister, kind of ministerial rank. Yeah.
Correct. Oh, but of BJP, isn't it?
BJP, yes, absolutely. She was a mayor also in the town.
Yeah, she had come for her 25th and I had a,
correct,
she used to help us teach English. And some ladies who are well-read and well-educated slowly joined us. Daisy was one of them. Then from the Anand School's wives, senior officers' wives, couple of them joined us. Mrs. Negi joined us for math. Another lady joined us for science. So that way the staff also grew a little by little, but everyone who came in, there was a compulsory training orientation. Deepak, we only knew when we came to school. None of us knew how we went back, whether it was Indu's children, whether it was Rekha's children. They were all, now they are married with their own children. They were all, what, 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, and my room was the only air-conditioned room. So if I'm working on worksheets and other things and I need these teachers, we used to bring our little tiffins, finish eating it, and then sit down to work after everybody has gone home, the children. And these children, because it used to be so hot sometimes, I used to go down, sit down, and we needed space, so we used to sit down and work. And these children के लिए एक चटाई डाल के मेरे कमरे में AC on करके एक आया को वहां रख के हम नीचे जाते थे काम करने. कितने काम किए? My worksheets became so famous. Then we realized कि इसको बचाना है तो इसको we needed to laminate it.
Laminate.
क्या hand से draw किया. आजकल तो सब कुछ इसमें हो जाता है.
सब इस पे हो जाता है.
All our worksheets were made by hand.
Correct.
And in those days, then we spiral rolled it. Then all our flashcards and all were laminated so that we could use them, reuse them at low cost. Made friends with Lawrence because those people used to respect us. Got them to give us a very low-cost handloom, which I don't even know if it is there or not, but children knitted on handloom. They made, I remember making a shawl, a small scarf, not a shawl, but a scarf. We got, for recycling, we got milk bags from homes of students. We washed them, we cut them, we made strands out of them, and even gifted people telephone mats and stuff like that, made of milk bag matting on the handlooms.
Wonderful.
ऐसे काम.
We don't have that machine. Abhi hai nahi, I did not get that. I did not find that machine. So
yeah, so those are some of the relics which we should have had, you know,
absolutely. Yes.
Should have.
Correct.
So that we can talk about the history. It was a beautiful history of, you know, good academics. So if I look at the story, it was well recruited, good academics, and you know, you won't believe it, we had some fund crunch. And I was very disappointed, something that I wanted did not happen at that time. Although Ramesh and his team would never let me even know कि क्या कोई difficulty है. उन लोग अपने आप में जो खुसुर करते थे, at the end of it, I would get my deal because what I wanted, I would get it. I was never said no to anything that I asked for. I realized soon they spared their staff who would work with them in the evening and come and work with me in the morning, starting from Minhas, whose son now lives in Noida and is a Facebook friend of mine. So the children are connected. Deepu is connected. Facebook, Arun is connected. They're all, and there are so many children who studied there. They're all connected, and they're all in US and all over. Itne sare bache, thanks to technology today, that they're all connected with me so deeply.
Yes.
But these people never said no. And when I found that there is a problem, you know, and NORAD had its plant or some kind of thing next to our school, a little distance, about a kilometer away. For sustainability studies, way back in 93, we took our children to NORAD. Whatever, 10 children, 15 children, but each one is a shining star today. But they had that initiation. We went there, and when we came back, we used to make sure. So all that got implemented and everyone got completely enthused. There was nobody who was either a maths teacher or a physical education teacher or a music teacher or a this teacher or that teacher. We all would sit together. Worksheets ban rahe hain, to irrespective of kaun teacher, kaun sa subject hai, sab apne do roti khakar line se lage hote the kaam karne. We turned out the book in 20 days.
Amazing.
That book got seen by people in Chandigarh. And I have sold that spirally bound worksheet books to people, and we raised close to, I think, 90,000 or a lakh of rupees in those days.
My God, on those days is such a huge amount.
He raised it. And even now, when I sometimes meet Anil Sachdev, who is to then be one of the people who also helped us initiate corporate training, and Ramesh and his team, and all of them made sure that whenever they are on a training of any kind, whether it was about school or not, we said leadership means training means it means us. And we were among the first. This organization backed me with money or without money or whatever may have been their problems or whatever may have been my school's income. We were among the first, and today also in Delhi circles, we are still connected. Those 5 principals on the top who made it to IIT Delhi's Nursery Campus School of NCERT, which initiated under Dr. Vinita Kaul, who is the head of and also UN representative today of early primary education. She used to train in that school experimental, and this model was open. They made the mistake of advertising ki koi bhi aa sakta hai is training ke liye. Although later, the first day we went, they told us, you know what, so we are very sorry, it's not meant for people outside Delhi. It is meant for only Delhi teachers. I said, what is your problem if we land up here at no cost to you, but we want the training? What's your problem? Indu and I think one more, and Kamini, 3 of us, we would take the morning Shatabdi, come there, go straight to the IIT campus, attend the training full time, and half an hour before 5 baje khatam hota tha, 5:30 baje return Shatabdi thi. We used to pack up at 4, leaving that for some principal friends of mine to tell me ki kya ho us 1 ghante mein, and we used to come back. We used to go in the morning and come back in the evening, even if it was a one-day training. But this organization had belief in training its people.
Mm-hmm.
They believed in training their professionals. And they did not see school as a new entity that they were not concerned with. Right from Mr. Vikram Lal down to the current people who are managing it, it was brilliant. All trainings we have attended.
Very true.
And whoever was called, if we had to send teachers, we sent teachers. We were a handful, but all the handful were like stars. And it was not unusual to see a music teacher doing this, sitting there and doing the spiral binding, or a physical education teacher sitting there and doing the write-up or compiling. We all did it together. And once that happened and the school got its name, then we started participating. We got a good music teacher. Usko नींद से उठाकर लाई थी मैं चंडीगढ़ से. स्कूल में आओगे और काम करोगे. इतना लेजी था वो, बट कमाल का टीचर था वो. मुझे तो उसके टीचर से मतलब था, उसके लेजीनेस को तो मैं ठीक करती. बट देन एवरीवन हैड दिस इश्यू, यार 40 किलोमीटर जाना है, 50 किलोमीटर जाना है, बट कैसे भी करके कुछ किया, ले आए. The first time we had an inter-school, Aisha School Parvanu won it, with just all of 18 children in class 6. And we were competing against Chandigarh schools. I tell you, the journey is so meetha, and it was so endearing. हमने then हमारे annual functions कमाल के होते थे. All our annual functions were big functions. कोई भी छोटा तो काम किया ही नहीं. उसके अंदर multiple stage. Remember रमेश, we had set up multiple. एक D होता था छोटा सा, इन्होंने हमारे लिए stage बनाया था. उसके opposite में we made a stage and there was a ramp in between connecting these two, and audience was sitting on two sides, and we had one of the most beautiful dance dramas during those times. With
Even
a hand.
Annual functions.
Yeah, annual function.
Annual functions, Parmanu School used to be the star always.
Always.
People used to wait for the children's program, which used to be fantastic. I mean, it actually added a lot of flavor to the whole thing in Parmanu.
Absolutely.
It started from Parmanu actually. It started from Parmanu, this whole activity.
Yeah. So beautifully. I mean, I used to feel so supportive. The first year we didn't have the stage. So we did a morning show and we went into Aisha's grounds. Aisha में एक तरफ ट्रैक्टर के पार्ट्स बन रहे थे तो दूसरी तरफ 2 घंटे का डांस गाना होता था. So some of them even probably felt ये क्या हो रहा है? But we still had it. I know some of them actually must have felt कि ये क्या कर दिया हमारे उसमें quiet place को. But उसको, even that, I still am connected with that girl with whom I am, Manush, a Russian girl who used to help with our dance, and she was a dance teacher in our school. Her daughters just got married, and because of Facebook, I'm connected again.
Correct.
So Manush used to teach dance with us. All of us were dance teachers. ना किसी को कोई problem ही नहीं था. मुझे आज भी याद है निमुडा डांस किया था और आयशर के फैक्ट्रीज के ग्राउंड्स में किया था वो फंक्शन. बलून्स लगे जी, ये लग गए, वो लग गए, एंड ये फैक्ट्री है. बिकॉज फैक्ट्री के पास ही थोड़ी जमीन थी और आयशर की एस्थेटिक सेंस इतनी अच्छी थी कि द लॉन्स वर ब्यूटीफुली मेंटेन्ड. सो वी डिड दैट एंड देन वी सेड ओके नहीं अब हम स्कूल में ही करेंगे. First year, 1 year we had to do there, but after all, then slowly we also learned and how to do in our own campus. So if you look at the story from a comprehensive educational point of view, starting from the first year, it was never like a first year. And it was a rare school of class pre-nursery, KG for admissions, class 6 for the need of Parvanu, and slowly it grew. And by then we labored with the land. I remember going to this panchayat for signature to Kamli village.
Mm-hmm.
There was no road. There was no road. There was only kacha rasta and all the dust on our face. We didn't, thankfully, I think they replaced my car. Otherwise, वो car भी बेचारा कुछ हो जाता उसको भी. उतना खराब सड़क था वो. सड़क वड़क सब हमारे स्कूल आने के बाद बना है और अब तो शायद बहुत अच्छा हो गया. But at that time when we went to see the place, I remember going into this lady, a lady panchayat had to sign it. She was blind. She was a blind woman. She was not born blind. She had chechak. She had smallpox, due to which she had become blind later. She was the last one to sign. She put me through so much difficulty. पता नहीं क्या-क्या नालियां जंप कर करके हम उसके घर पहुंचे थे. कामली विलेज के अंदर साइन के लिए. And Kamini was trying to talk to her and said नहीं आप हमारे 2 लड़कों को पहले नौकरी पहले दे दो उसके बाद मैं साइन करूंगी. It started like that. He said आप ही के पास है. हमारा अगर स्कूल चलना है तो आप ही के लोग काम करेंगे. क्यों आप घबरा रहे हो? नहीं हमको लिखित में चाहिए. I learned administration from her. कि ये पंचायत की बोली होती क्या है और वो अपनी भाषा में बोल रही है. बहुत सीखा. हमें तो अपना काम आता था, हमने दूसरों का काम सीखा.
Correct. Very true.
So whether it was setting up the school, whether it was, but none of this would have been possible if I didn't have so much support from the energies of this young leadership in the Aisha factory at that time. And also the vision, the compassion, the empathy and the determination of Mr. Malhotra and his team. And the big vision of Mr. Vikram Lal and the support and the correct intent to run a school. When I wanted to have my first conference, can you imagine what we were 5 teachers, a whole factory on the back, on my shoulders, and they had very state-of-art conference rooms. We didn't have. The governor of the combined state of Punjab, Haryana and
Himachal.
landing up to inaugurate the conference with just 15 people and 20 children in a school. बुलाकर देखे आप कोई governor आता है क्या? And these people brought him with such elan. And in the evening, he hosted the dinner for all of us in Punjab Bhavan in Chandigarh. I mean, he didn't feel small at any time, Deepak. School didn't feel small. And because the whole team had a large heart. And the vision was very clear that we need a good school. We are not doing a Kam Chalao stuff. So we did all of that. And then, so place leadership was supported. Vision was deep. Training was much respected. Investment in training was a belief that if you train well, you will do well. All conferences were attended in whichever part of the country it was, supported by the organization. I had known if I met with some difficulty, Aisha would stand by me like a rock. The local factory, because the others are in Delhi.
Correct.
These were the people with whom.
Correct.
Even if a car breaks down, the first thing I would do is, Ramesh, please help. So that's the only way it works for me. It worked for me. And then whether it was Teachers' Day, he would personally host it in his house. Ramesh would host it in his house and all my teachers would go there for teachers. It never felt small. He would host such a beautiful dinner. And everybody and all the reasonably well-known people would join him in that gang. So we established ourselves as a name. And then after, when the construction started, oh my God, the supervision was beautiful by Mr. Malhotra and his team. He would travel endlessly, I think till his last day. What an example of a man, tireless.
Correct. Very true. Very true.
What an example.
Absolutely.
So when I look at this journey and I think, and then, there were decorations, there was research, there was no Google. There was research from books, research from encyclopedias, research from material. And my first visit was when they were getting visitors to their factory. I'm ever indebted to them. That's why I never refuse anything that comes to me from Aisha. I'm ever indebted to them. They were the people who first made my passport. My wedding was all of 10 years. I had never traveled abroad, really, in that sense. And they had a team of visitors. And those visitors came to a school. They were completely mesmerized in a small place. What could we do in a rural area? Then they invited me. And that was my first. I don't know, Ramesh, किस मुहूर्त में passport बना मेरा और मैंने किस मुहूर्त में अपना पैर बाहर रखा. Today, if in Harvard, I have an alumnus number, irrespective of my journey and my hard work thereafter, I still owe it to you. I feel ever grateful. It was there that I think all possible conferences, all possible studies, but I would never compromise on my deadlines. Because at no stage I wanted to be seen as small. At the end of 7 years, once the school was built, once the school's affiliation was done, recognition was done, affiliation was done, and when the structure was complete and we were having the inaugural show, that was the time. And my room, the room in which you probably sit, I call it my room, in which you sit today. Deepak, I'm so happy that the reins are in your hand because at least you're taking the same kind of creative interest in school. I feel grateful for that. And thank you for that. Because when the room was, all rooms were furnished, that was the last room to be furnished. So I was telling Mr. Malhotra, aisa hona chahiye, and I announced. And then we had, even that function was not small. It had the basics of a very good cultural, creative basic. So what happened? The inaugural show, we got the chief minister to come to inaugurate the school building, to inaugurate the school. And a stage was erected for performance by Saroja Vaidyanathan and her team who were traveling from Delhi to come and perform Bharatanatyam there. There were 9 girls with her to perform. We got them almost free accommodation with our contacts in the Delhi's, in Parvanu's garment guest house. And these are all LSR girls from Delhi, the dancers. Can you believe it? And they had all come to dance there. And as luck should have it, the Devtas were very rude. The stage erected outside 10 minutes before our function came down. Dhumal Saab was already with us.
Correct.
The Chief Minister was already with us. And that whole structure crumbled in front of my face. I said, I have never had a setback. मैंने क्या गलती कर दी हे भगवान that this happened? So Dhumal Saab, he said, इधर आइए आप. I went, Mr. Malhotra, we both went that side, and he said, ये function होगा और इस corridor में होगा. और ये स्कूल में inaugurate यहाँ करूंगा. रिबन बांधिए आप यहाँ दोबारा. The corridor in front of your office, that corridor, we are sitting on one side, the dancers are on one side, the children and parents on the two sides. And it's pouring cats and dogs. Thunder, lighting, the stage for which I had got people from Delhi was ripped apart. And the story of my school, because it was inauguration, what happened in 7 years, year by year, Indu and I and Kamni and Rajmohini and Manpreet and others have all done it year on year with what we noted. So if you look at the school report was done year by year, it was hanging on the walls as exhibits.
It's still there, still there.
So that was done, and he was sitting there, and he said, बहुत inaugurations किए मगर ऐसा यादगार inauguration नहीं किया. Then the DC, because he was coming, the chief minister is coming, police commissioner, DC, सारे के सारे हाजिर. धूमल का एक aide है. He was his personal aide, a man in uniform, IPS. He said he came quietly running back from somewhere and asked him, "Ma'am, are you leaving the school?" I said, well, you are not supposed to speak about it so loudly, but yes, I'm in the process of leaving. He said, but you're going to my place. I was so shocked. I said, what about? So saying you're going to modern school. I said, yes. So he said, ma'am, my alma mater. Dhumal's aide, IPS officer, was a student of modern school. And he knew it before me. Alumni network. So he said today when he's coming to Aisha school, I was so happy and I was so keen to come. That is cutting too many long stories short. And then it happened. And then, of course, the rest of the history is more recent and you know it. But if you take a school's birth and look at it as vision, mission, leadership, teacher recruitment, teacher training, updation, upskilling, children, identifying children, taking the risk of allowing the school to grow in 2 tiers, finding teachers, multi-skilling them, wanting to do things at par with big schools, because children are children. What you do with them is what you do. We set up our first computer labs then. Notwithstanding the fact that you're far more better techie than I am, Deepak, I'm very sure about it that you know more technology than I know. But during this COVID days, I think I have become smarter.
Yes.
I've learned more.
Absolutely.
Because I have a lot of support coming from everybody, in the sense that when you're in a place like modern school with a 25-acre land to look after a 1-acre shed and a 2-acre hillside school, you enter this grandeur of modern school with 25 acres, 100-year-old history, and absolutely top class with the most elitist of parents, and a history that supports the history of the country in independence. The leap that I had to take can only be traced back to say that my heterogeneity from Bhavan School, my entrepreneurship and leadership supported from Aisha, became strong pillars that helped me. My academics, I must say, with some humility, was always very good. I never compromised. I was never lazy. I have compromised my family life, to which everyone will agree. But I have not compromised my professional life. And today, after my retirement, the book is beautiful, which Modern School released on its 100th day, and the stories of our lives are there. But the book that after I retired, I was helping set up. I wanted to set up. Dr. Pachauri invited me to set up his first green school in 100 acres. When I moved to Gurgaon and I bought my apartment and settled out here after I left the Modern School house. When I came and I saw the 100 acres of land, he said, I want the first green school in the country to come up with you. We'll set standards for all, because he was heading TERI. He was a Nobel laureate. He was a Padma Vibhushan, Dr. R.K. Pachauri. In 2.5 years, even that was an experiment to be seen. It reminded me that I did Bhavan, then I went into an experimental school. I did Modern School, then I'm going back into an experimental school to start from zero. I was roll number 1. I was roll number 1 in Aisha. I was roll number 1 in TERI. Unlike the energy of Ramesh's leadership, or the team's, or Mr. Malhotra's leadership, whatever you want to call it, this bad luck of Dr. Pachauri, being a Nobel laureate, he fell into bad times on a scandal which was not nice for him. And he had, again, too much of going in, out and in, but finally he had to resign from being the Director General of TERI, the Energy Resource Institute of India. He had to resign. When he resigned, there were some millions of dollars which he had lined up for the TERI school, which went away with him, because unlike Aisha being an industrial house, TERI was a non-profit organization. They have no funds. They have to write and apply for funds and get their funds, which Dr. Pachauri had done for setting up the school. And if I look at the architecture of the TERI school that was coming up, it was a lesson for architects about a sustainability building. And one of the best and the most expensive architect from Bangalore had come to do it. I was learning how the air circulation takes place in a multiple layered storied building. Outstanding. But it did not fructify, because out went Pachauri and out went the international funds. So after that, while I was supporting and I serve a lot of boards, I was waiting when suddenly this good thing happened this April with the onset of COVID. A 40-year-old school which was set up by the legendary principal of Modern School, Mr. M.N. Kapoor, which was like an extension of Modern School in 7.5 acres in Saket, Gyan Bharati School. Mr. Ansel, they owned that property. He came and requested me to take on, because the director had passed away and they didn't have a director for school. So now I serve as its full-time director come manager of Gyan Bharati School, Saket, which is as beautiful as modern, minus some of modern's faults, but also minus some of modern's elitism. That's the long story short. I can talk about Aisha School for a year. I can talk about my learning. I can talk about my support. I can talk about the way they would. My God, I've never heard no. And I remember Mr. Malhotra saying, once when we have the Board of Governors meeting or Managing Committee meeting, we used to sit in that small room in class 6. I used to convert it into a round table for meeting purposes in the old building. So he would sit, one of them, whoever was coming from Aisha would be there. I would be there, a couple of teachers, exactly like a managing committee that we have now. He'd sit. And then one thing Mr. Malhotra said, I said, sir, that's your chair. You need to sit there. He said to me, no, I can be a chair from wherever I sit. मैंने कहा अच्छा, ये तो अमिताभ बच्चन का डायलॉग कह दिया कि लकीर वहीं से शुरू होती है जहां मैं खड़ा होता हूँ. So I was joking about that. So he said नहीं, वो तो अमिताभ बच्चन है ना, हम तो मिस्टर मल्होत्रा हैं. तो हम एक बात बता रहे हैं आज आपको कि हर मैनेजिंग कमेटी मीटिंग में इस मैनेजिंग कमेटी का हर मेंबर एक बार चेयर करेगा. I don't think it happened after I left.
No.
I don't know if it happened in Shalini's time. I don't think it happened. So
no,
I
it
used to
did
be
not
chair.
carry. It did not continue. Yes, that's true.
It did not continue. So Mr. Malhotra would chair and teach us how to chair a meeting. Then because my experience with Bhavan was different. That was very, very bureaucratic.
Mm-hmm.
This was very participatory, and yet there was an hierarchy, but it was very participatory and with very functional seniorities. The school, Aisha school, didn't have somebody bossing over your head. Out of respect, we would do things. But he was chair for one meeting. In that session, I remember Ishan was there for a meeting, Ramesh, and Ishan chaired one meeting. Then I chaired a meeting. Then there was one more person. I don't remember. Yeah, Diara. So at least 4 meetings I know before I left, because this meeting became formal only after the school got affiliated. So the last 2 years. So in rotation, it used to be chaired. He would say everyone should know the responsibility. Kamal ka aadmi tha wo bhi.
Beautiful.
Bahut seekha usse. Very, very different learnings. I don't think a school can teach me so much. And the journey is up and down. My God, to Shimla and back. सुबह जो 6 बजे गए, रात के 10, 10:30 तो बज ही जाते थे वापसी.
So we call it a day now, or anything else?
We should. Unless Ramesh is very hungry and his wife must have dished out something wonderful. I don't know how many of you have experienced. Ramesh's wife is a super cook.
Acha?
She's a super cook. She's a super house manager. इसका सारा चलता ही था. रमेश जी का सारा जो कुछ चलता था वो पीछे थी, इसलिए चलता था.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
Otherwise, his energy came from a well looked after house. She was amazing. She's an amazing woman.
Absolutely, no doubt on that.
Thank you
Ramesh,
so much.
Just allow me to ask few questions. There are some, some queries which are coming naturally to my mind. One thing is, Ramesh ji shifted from Hyderabad to Parwanu in 1993. That was the year, Lataji, when he came to you?
I think if I recall correctly, that was the year, 1993.
93.
Correct. That was the year I joined. I think he came from Hyderabad a year earlier.
Okay.
A year earlier.
Or it could be 92.
Correct.
It could be 92 because the school inauguration, formal inauguration date is 9th April 1993. So you could have come in 92.
I would have come in 92 then, because it took almost about 6-8 months.
Okay.
Correct.
It took almost about 4 months for her to join after 4 to 6 months, and then
it
took another about 2-3 months for the school to start.
And you got your children admitted to Bhavans, and that is how you came to know. Okay. And that is why the son was missing, Lataji.
I came that's how I came to know about her.
True. Lovely children. Yeah.
Lataji, who was Ishan? You had mentioned Ishanji's name a number of times. Who was he?
Ishan Mehta was the HRD manager.
Oh.
Senior manager HRD.
Okay. He was Ishan Mehta.
Ishan Mehta.
Correct.
Ishan Mehta, HRD manager.
HRD manager.
I see. And rest of it, I think, is pretty बहुत ही sequentially, Lataji and Maheshwari sir, आपने share किया. मतलब I was just listening to it and I just I went back to that time. Actually, I was imagining and visualizing each and every step that you people took, and what an amazing journey. It was not only, technically it was so good, but the emotional quotient of the entire experience has been so high. So fabulous. Such kind of fulfillment, I think, very lucky to have that kind of fulfillment in life, ma'am.
You know, Aruna Kanda, is she your staff member during your time?
She was earlier to me. I think I know her, Aruna. Aruna is running a preparatory school called as, what is the Lotus or something?
She came for the reunion because I was there. And this, Abhi Happy Diwali Tak, She has sent me her pictures. She has sent me the pictures which I had when I had come for the 25th celebrations. उस टाइम पे उसने जो जो पिक्चर्स लिए थे वो सब भेज के उसके ऊपर हैप्पी दिवाली भेज के मेरे को विश किया उसने भी. And they are all still connected. Kamini is in connection, Raj is in connection, Aruna Kanda is there, Indu is there. Indu's two children grew up, literally I've held them like this. Because if they are crying and Indu's drawing, I used to hold them like this. So she was, I mean.
When you were actually mentioning the kind of kinship that you have and the camaraderie, it's so rare to find, and such kind of participatory journey, I think heads off, rarest of the rarest. I mean,
we have to model the behavior we want of our people. You cannot sit on an ivory chair and say that that is being a principal. No.
Very true.
You need to be, and you know what, Deepak, you have to be for me, among the styles of leadership that they trained me on, the most pertinent one was authentic leadership. Mm-hmm. I remember Anil's team training us. Anil Sachdev used to then head their Aisha consultancy services as a young person. Acha, he was HRD.
HRD, after that he became consulting. I mean, he became Aisha consultancy services.
Yeah. He headed that. And at that time...
Maheshwari, then I think Ishanji also was an HRD person, and Mr. Sachdeva also was HRD.
Yeah, see, Mr. Sachdeva was the corporate level.
Okay.
For all the Aisha group,
Aisha
group was there.
Okay.
While Ishan was only for Parvanu.
Only for Parvanu.
Ishan used to report to me, Sachdeva used to report to Mr. Vikram Lal.
Okay.
That's how the structure was.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. I think
so. He has taught us, and in one of the meetings, he talked about authentic leadership. And you know, when you're in an authentic leadership position, it means that you know every table's job. Mm-hmm. You know what a sports teacher is supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Because if there's a training for sports teacher, I would be there. Mm-hmm. I have gone. I Mr. Anil. What is your name? Amritpal Sharma.
Amit Pal.
Sharma. Amit, hello and sorry. We didn't greet you in the beginning of this meeting, but I'd really like to say hello to you, and I'm happy to hear good words from your principal about you. But for example, I have gone up to SGFI games and people have thought that I have been a team manager. I used to go for constitutional runs with my team early morning at 5. I've done that also. Okay. Therefore, there is no role a principal can think. Anybody in leadership position. And you don't have to be a principal to be a leader. You emerge a leader from your authentic behaviors from any corner. A simple peon can be a leader whom you can say namaste to.
Yes, very true. Yes, very true.
So, and even your Leela still works in the school.
Correct.
She used
absolutely. Yes, she's still working.
Leela, there were 2 Leelas. If they look at me, they start crying. I know it. When I come there, they'll start crying. When I came last time, they were all just hugging me. They couldn't leave me and they were crying.
Yes,
I was crying. Why they? I was crying. That is the level to which we had a teamwork. Beautiful team. I had to really thank Ramesh so much for that experience. Yeah. Without Ramesh, I wouldn't have probably been in that school for sure.
Yeah. Not all. It's all destined, Lata. The school wouldn't have been there without you. So...
I'm glad today there is a school in Parvanu and it had very humble beginnings, and now I think they have Ramesh, and the end of the journey, it will be incomplete if I don't say this. Mr. Malhotra, before 1 year before his death, he sent me a letter. He says, it's time, I'm 90 now. Can you please help me? And by accepting to be a trustee of the Aisha Trust. I am now a trustee of the Aisha Trust. And I have some very sad and happy feelings with it. The day he died, his chotha was in the Chinmaya Ashram. And my mother was almost on her last scene in Artemis Hospital here. I had this debate. I told Leela, tum jao aaj ki evening meeting ke liye, main bas gayi. अपना सर मथा टेक करके आ जाती हूँ. After all, I'm a trustee of his trust. मेरा trust chairman has passed away. Let me just go and meet him. Go for the prayer and come. I drove all the way to Chinmaya for that. And while I had just entered and sat down, फूल डाल के मैं आके बैठी थी, the bhajans were still to begin. I get a call from my sister, आ जाओ, mom is no more. So I drove back straight to the hospital the day I lost my mother. So it's too many emotions are there with this place. I still haven't, I think I'm very immature. I haven't got over my mother's passing away. It's going to be now on the 15th of December will be 1 full year. But it's been losing her has been a shock. Without her, I wouldn't have done the school well. She was with me full time at home. She used to look after my house when I used to travel that far. Train Aisha days. Anyway, long stories, good beginnings and happy endings, but
so,
too many emotions.
Just we are very, very lucky to even hear all this, I think, and people like you and Maheshwariji, I think we have been just very, very lucky to inherit that legacy. And actually, you can see the school now, the way it has shaped up, but it's very clear that, you know, all the good foundations are laid. So that's why it's kind of growing. And I shared it with you also and Maheshwariji that we are having new building also now very soon to be inaugurated by November. And
so in the last trust meeting, it came out. Correct. In the last trust meeting, they told me that they have put in about 4 crores into the building to get it going.
More than 5. I think it's touching now close to 5.5 now. Beautiful building coming up, and it's all because of the efforts that have gone in the past. And you know, this present generation.
I'm dying to come and see it. I'm really wanting to come and see it.
Absolutely,
Ramesh, let's go together.
Yes, absolutely. We will be very, very, I think, lucky to have you people here. We will be very happy, in fact.
We'll come.
Let's absolutely.
We'll do that someday. Let these COVID days pass by God's grace. Let's all be happy and healthy, and maybe all of us can go together, Ramesh.
Correct.
Yes, please.
Let's plan. Yeah, let's plan and do that. They owe us a picture at least outside their new school. They owe us a new school.
Yes.
And I think you should take, if you're creating the document, Deepak, please take a screenshot of this one. Can you take a screenshot?
I have recorded this one. I have recorded this.
The whole thing is okay.
एक मैं फोटो भी ले लेता हूँ इसका ना साथ में इसका.
वही मैंने कहा screenshot ले लो.
ले लेता हूँ.
Already done, ma'am. Already done, sir. Already done.
See, Amit is already done.
अमित, अगर तुमने ये नहीं किया होता तो तुम्हारा प्रेजेंस को मैं डिस्काउंट करती. मुझे लगा कि तुमने किया होगा. ये मेरे अंदर से हो रहा था कि तुमने किया होगा.
Not one time, ma'am. 3 or 4 times I take.
4 days already done that.
Very good, very good. I'm happy to see this energy.
Thank you, ma'am.
So great. I don't even know what the time is, but I had my hearts full. So thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Ramesh.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maheshwari.
Thank you, Deepak.
Thank you, Lataji. Thank you so much for coming and sparing so much of your valuable time. And I'm truly grateful. Thank you so much.
Great getting together to know each other. Very good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
you, ma'am.
God bless. God bless. Can we leave?
Yes, ma'am.
We can leave?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.